Welcome back to my channel, Mother Suckers. Hey, happy holidays to you and yours. So I asked you guys in the community tab if you wanted to see a review of the Netflix movie Passing, and most of you said yes. Some of you enjoyed it, some of you were confused, and some of you were waiting on a recommendation from me to decide if you wanted to see the movie or not. And I will say straight up right now from the beginning, watch this film. Let me go ahead and also let you guys know that there will be spoilers. We are going to talk about every inch of this film. Okay, not every inch. I'm a little obsessed, sorry. But we're going to discuss this film in its entirety. So if you have not seen it yet, I will be going over the plot. I will be going over character traits. So if you don't want to know, don't watch this video until after you finish watching Passing on Netflix. Then come back and play this video. So the scene takes place in 1920s New York City. A Black woman finds her world upended when her life becomes intertwined with a former childhood friend who's passing as white. The film was directed by Rebecca Hall, starring Tessa Thompson, Ruth Negga, Andre Holland, and a brilliant cast. From the wardrobe to the music to the subtle nuances, there's so much to unpack. And that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy this film, is because not everything is said blatantly. A lot of things you have to infer, a lot of things you have to imagine, and a lot of things you just got to take a guess, because although the film is in black and white, the answers aren't in black and white. So let go. So the film opens up with Irene. She's in town shopping for her son's birthday gift. And we see these two white women, and they're speaking about a doll that they want to get for their niece. They go into the shop. They pick up this black doll, and they make mention that, their niece has never met a black person except the one that they have at home as their maid. And here the director has to take us back into time and really set us in the 1920s, a world where most of us today have never seen, can never imagine, but of course we know that that world has indeed existed. And so we see the interactions with Irene and the cashier. She's very nervous. In fact, watching Irene in the first scene, it made me nervous. And although throughout the film it seems as if she does have some kind of anxiety disorder or some type of nervous disorder, she's especially nervous when she's outside passing. Another thing that I think is worth mentioning, there was someone who passed out in the street in the beginning. The director made sure to focus on that point, even as I was going to call her Tessa, but even as Irene was leaving, she made sure to turn around and she looked out that window and she saw that person on the ground. I feel like there's a lot of foreshadowing in this film, and I do believe that Tessa looking out the window in that first scene and seeing someone lying passed out on the ground, that sets the tone for what literally happens at the end as well. And so we're introduced to Claire Bellew in the very next scene. Irene stops by at this restaurant, and lo and behold, Claire is there with her Caucasian husband. And I will admit, you do have to have some patience with this film. You're not going to get all the meat and potatoes at first. So you have to take your time, be patient, and really take in the scenery. The scenery was captured magnificently. But yeah, so Irene was waiting for her water and her food or whatever. There's this couple there, PDA on 10. There's this elderly couple. And then smack dab right in the middle is Claire, piercing, staring at Irene, and Irene literally cannot take it. I was like, why is this lady staring at her like that? It was creepy a little bit, I'm not gonna lie. The stare was so keen. The stare was keen. And then she gets up and walks towards Irene. Irene is such a nervous wreck. Irene feels so much like an outsider that just someone looking at her and walking towards her frightens her. And so she gets up, she's about to leave. And this woman's like, hello, hey, do I know you? Irene? Reenie? Is that you, Reenie? It was really given I Love Lucy as well. Irene has no clue who this lady is. She finally recognizes her. She's like, oh my God, Claire, you look so different. That was your husband, a white man. They go upstairs to Claire's room, kiki, drink a little bit more alcohol, order some food, and they begin to have this very awkward conversation about passing. And so we have two biracial women, but the film represents them as black. We all know the one drop rule. Any drop of black during this time, you were considered black. It doesn't matter if your mama was white, your daddy was white, your great granddaddy. If you had black in you, they did not consider you white. So we have these biracial women who are passing for white, and they have two completely different lives. Irene passes for white for convenience when she needs to go shopping or she needs some sort of privilege. You can tell that she's very uncomfortable posing as a white woman. Then you have Claire, who's vibrant, she's bold, she's loud. She lets it be known that she's in the room and she's very comfortable, with the fact that she is passing as a white woman and that no one will find out. But as I previously mentioned, the dialogue was a bit awkward. Obviously, they spoke differently in the 1920s, a lot of subtle shade being thrown, but major lesbian tension. Let me know down in the comment section if you picked up on the lesbian energy between these two. I was like, did they bump bussies back in the day? I'm just saying. Irene, every chance she got, them eyes was up and down. And if you look at what's her name, Claire, she was forever staring at Irene's lips. I was like, she keep looking at her lips and in her eyes, and they have these moments where they're holding hands. We're going to get there. Irene asks Claire, what about her family? And she says, when her father died, her two white aunts basically raised her, and then she got married at 18 and never really saw her family again. So she's giving off the impression that she is happy posing and living as a white woman. She keeps saying, I'm happy, I have everything that I want. And we see that's a lie. As we keep watching this film, this woman is the exact opposite of what she portrays in the first scene. I know y'all saw this scene and was like, hold on. You gonna call me what? Who? Hey? No, sorry. So obviously Claire's white husband was racist. What white person wasn't at this point in time? But the dialogue was very interesting. So you have Irene sitting there. She's met this man for the first time, and he calls his wife Nig. He says he calls her Nig because he first met her at 18. She was pale as ever. And as the years are going by, she's getting darker and darker. And at first, Irene finds this funny. She wasn't peeking behind that hat no more, child, honey. She was laughing. That liquid courage got to her. She was cackling. And then she said, wait a minute, do you dislike Negroes? And he says, no, I hate them. And so she left. So then we get back to Harlem and we meet Irene's husband, Brian, and her two sons. And was it just me, or her little boys is a little rude? I don't know. I know they kids. I love the kids and everything, but I'm big on teaching children about respect so they could grow up with respect and manners. And I don't know, the interactions between her and her son, it was very distant. It was giving like mommy's here, but she don't really matter. We did see some scenes where she was reading to her sons or having some conversation with them, but I really didn't see that like mother-son dynamic. But I know she loves her sons and she's very concerned about them, but she coddles her boys. She wants to keep them from the reality, which they will eventually have some sort of run-in with, being that they are both dark-skinned. That causes some major issues within their marriage. Brian wants to teach the boys about the reality of the world that they live in, being black boys and one day being black men. But Irene, she's like, do they need to know that? Do they need to know who was lynched today? Do they need to know about the N-word? Can we just send them to a European school? It's just like, what? Thinking about it now, I noticed that even though Irene loves her husband and her two sons, she's just not affectionate. She kisses Brian maybe once or twice throughout the movie. They barely make love. Like, she does not seem that much mentally and physically attracted to him. And it could be because she's secretly a lesbian and she's passing as straight. I think everyone in this film was passing for something. Now, let me get into Hugh. I actually really liked his character. He was one of those subtly shady mofos. Now, Hugh was an author, and him and his wife were good friends of Irene and Brian. They were wealthy white folks who would come to Harlem and party it up with the black folks, dance. His wife was always dancing with black men. He would just sit and watch. And he would sit and kiki with Irene. Now, Hugh did not like Claire, and Claire didn't necessarily like Hugh. So at the party, he discovers that Claire is passing, and he asks Irene, why don't you pass? And she says, who says I'm not? Now, Hugh might be LGBTQ plus as well, okay? Because he's giving me good girlfriend vibes. Because you don't really got to say too much to Hugh. You give him that look, he give you that look. He asking questions on the sly. He got your back. Now, other than Hugh disliking Claire, she was a pretty likable character. I mean, everyone who came in contact with her liked her. The boys liked her. They played cowboys and Indians with her. Brian liked her. Child, a little bit too much in my opinion, okay? Brian liked her. Irene's friends liked her. Zoo, the homemaid, liked her. She was very likable. And I do think that with her becoming more likable with the people in Irene's life, Irene began to get jealous. Matter of fact, I can't even really say jealous. I mean, she began to get sad. Like, she got sad. Her nerves got really bad again. She started to shake. She started to drop things. Her energy was just really off. The more comfortable Claire got around her family, the more anxious and shaky she got. And even though Irene knew this and she wasn't comfortable with this, she still let Claire go off by herself to a bridge game or bridge party with her husband. And I'm just like, why are you doing that? But why are you doing that? And I still don't have an answer. I still don't know why. But when I watched it for the second time, I realized that Irene also pitied Claire. She felt bad for Claire. And I really honestly think she knew what the end was going to be. Now, I have two theories for the end. Now, my first theory is that Claire committed S. She jumped out of the window because she just wanted to end it all. Now, there was a lot of foreshadowing of, Claire committing S. She would speak almost in third person, or she would speak as if, things ended already. She would say things like, oh, no matter what happens, Irene, I want you to know that you've always been good to me. Or she would say things like, it doesn't matter what I have to do, who I have to hurt, I will do anything to be happy. She made a statement and she said, being a mother is the most evil thing in the world, or something like that. She doesn't even, it gets to the point where she's so miserable with her life, her husband, her child, that she doesn't want it. She doesn't see joy in those things, and Claire and Irene agrees. She says, yes, that is true. But it's also the most responsible thing you have to be. But there's this void that comes with passing. Claire is longing to be with black folks. She want black food, child. She want black music, honey. She want a black man and black babies, okay? So my first theory is that she committed S once her husband found out that she's half black. I also believe that Irene knew she was going to commit S, and that's why she was so sick and so sad. My second theory is that Irene called the husband, because if you remember, there was a scene where Irene didn't want to invite Claire to Hugh's birthday party, but Brian, Irene's husband, invited Claire anyways. So when she said, like, oh, you spoke to her, like you invited her, and he said, yeah, she said, of course you did. And she stared in the mirror, and I said, could that be payback? Like, okay, I'm gonna call up your husband. You feel me? You called up my husband, I'm gonna call up yours. Or maybe that's just what I would have done. Y'all know I'm a Pisces, honey. We petty, but I don't know. And again, I feel like regardless of what Irene knew, like Irene knew something. You can't tell me she didn't know something. Her whole mannerisms, her body, like her facial expressions, she looked sick. Those last couple of scenes, she just looked sick. Like, oh my God, this is awful. This is awful. Like, what was Irene thinking about? So Claire dies from the fall, but it's unclear who pushed her. Did she jump? Did Irene call Mr. Bellew? How did Mr. Bellew find the address? Did Claire know that he was coming? Maybe Claire called him. I don't know. And so on the surface, the movie is about two biracial women or black women who are passing as white, but they're also passing for happy. They're passing for women who are satisfied with their lives. When they look at each other, they think the grass is greener on that side, and it's really not. Ooh, there's so much more I can say, but let me end it here. You guys can support me and let me know if you like this type of commentary by hitting that thumbs up button. It's free 99. Hit the thumbs up button to let me know that you like this type of content and you want to see more movie or book reviews in the future. Let me know as well, did you watch Passing and what were some of the conclusions you got from watching this film? Let me know down in the comment section. Maybe there's some other films you would like to see me review. Put that in the comment section as well. And who do you think was the villain? I saw this post that said movie villain, real villain. But let me know, do you think there was a villain? Who do you think killed Claire? Did you also pick up on that lesbian energy that I picked up on? Let me know down in the comment section and I'll see you at the next one.